Hey guys, editing Angela here. Went to go edit the video portion to the Becky Watts podcast and it did not properly back up to the Google Drive. So instead of me talking organically like the audio says for the podcast, what you will see is pictures of Becky, her family, the two psychos who took her life, and her funeral, different things like that, things that are more relevant to what's going on that time of the podcast. I am really sorry, guys. I was really excited to do it. Also, it's going to say 2021 because I did record that episode in 2021. My life has just been really, really hectic between going back to work and the kids going back to school and us moving. We've just had a rough end of year, beginning of this year, but I am back full force. So I really appreciate everybody who's watching this video and everybody who listens to the podcast. I will have the podcast link below in the description box, and the video for the other two, I'll probably link them in the description box too. All right, thank you. Our case today, we are going to be talking about Rebecca Becky Watts. Rebecca's case is really sad to me because Rebecca's life was taken from her by somebody that she really trusted and loved and was her family. So let's get into it. I'm going to refer to her as Becky for the remainder of this content. Becky was born on June 3rd, 1998 to Tanya Watts and Darren Galsworthy. Always have to look at that man's name. That is such a different name for me. Might be very normal in England. We're going to be over the pond in England, Bristol, England to be exact. Bristol is not a large city or town. It is what I would consider a small city. I wouldn't consider it a small town. When I think of towns, I think about like less than 5,000 people that live there. Bristol's a little bigger than that. Was born 3 years after her brother Daniel. She was born after her parents had already separated. They had her brother. They were not getting along, so they separated. And one night of them getting along led to Becky. At first, Becky's dad wasn't sure that Becky was his because, like I said, they weren't even together. He didn't know if she was just trying to pin a baby on him. He said when he took his son Daniel to the hospital and he saw Becky that he instantly fell in love with her. And he still was very iffy about the whole situation until one day Angela told him if he wanted to take Daniel, he was going to take Becky because Becky was also his child. And so not to miss out on time with his son, he took Becky with him and he fell more and more and more in love with her. And he said when he looked into her eyes, he could tell that that was his daughter, which is the absolute sweetest thing I've ever heard. Okay? The sweetest thing. They are going back and forth between Darren's house and Angie's house. They go to Darren's house pretty much only on the weekends when he gets them, and they're at Angela's house most of the rest of the time. He does notice some things like they come with kind of tattered clothes and they're not always clean, and he talks to their mom, but it doesn't really work. When Becky is not even a year old, Darren will run into somebody from his past, and then enters Angie. Angie is someone that Darren met years ago, but they were both married. So they kind of like had sparks. They were both babysitters for this family. I think he was coming and she was going. They met, there were sparks. They were both in relationships, so they kind of just, let it go. Well, randomly one day, he is pushing his kids down the street and he runs into Angie again. She is still in a relationship, but they exchange pleasantries and promise to keep in contact, the stuff everybody does. But they actually did it. So when she breaks up with her boyfriend, they end up reconnecting. They talk. They're spending a lot of time with each other. They end up meeting each other's kid. Becky falls in love with Angie. She absolutely loves her. If you see Angie, you will see Becky if Becky is there. Like on every weekend, they're just together. Right? So eventually, Angie and Darren Darren moves into Angie's house that she is buying. Now, Angie has a son from a previous relationship. At this time, he's 11-ish. He only comes on weekends. So this is what happened. Angie was in a really, really toxic relationship with her boyfriend, which is not her son Nathan's dad. Okay? Nathan's dad is out the picture. So she is in a really bad relationship. She sends Nathan to her mom's house because she feels like that'll be a better place for him, which it probably was a more stable situation. So when she is out of the relationship with her boyfriend, Nathan already has friends. He's like in middle school. He's settled there. So she just kind of lets him stay there. She is a super mom, though. Do you know she walks her son 5 miles to school every day? 5 miles there, 5 miles back. Every day. She walks 10 miles every day to make sure she walks her son to school. That is absolutely amazing. That's dedication of a mom. Like 1000%, right? That is a lot of freaking walking. A lot. So they're living together and Nathan meets little Becky and Daniel. And he really likes Daniel. Daniel's a little boy. At this time, Daniel's probably 3. Becky's about 1. And they really... No, I think Becky's 2 and Daniel's 4. And which would make Nathan like 12. That's right. They have a lot of fun. So Nathan plays with Daniel. They play computer games and video consoles and just do a bunch of boy stuff. I'm going to say boy stuff because girls can do all those things too, but Becky wasn't really into that. So she would just go in there and annoy them, which is what 2-year-olds do. I'm a grown woman and 2-year-olds tend to annoy me sometimes. It's just what they do. They're also super, super cute though, right? Anyway, so when I say he, I mean Nathan. Nathan wasn't sure about Becky because Becky was also a very, we're going to say rambunctious kid. If she sometimes would just throw fits, and Angie and Darren would say like they would just be unfounded. Like there would be no reason. She would just decide, think it's a good time to throw a fit and have full out throwing myself on the ground, throwing myself on the floor, craziness, right? And this would happen in public, in the movie theaters and museums, because they tried every weekend to make sure, because this is the only time that they had the kids, like any of the kids at that point in time, they would make sure that they were having a family experience. So every weekend they would take them somewhere, and Becky would just throw fits to where they said that sometimes they would announce on a loudspeaker, like, whoever's child this is, please take your child outside. She is disturbing other patrons. That would be embarrassing. I would be freaking mortified, right? So this continues for a while. At this time, things seem to be getting worse at Angela's house. Angie and Darren would buy the kids clothes, and she would send them still in dirty, torn up clothes. It was just an ongoing thing. It got so bad that he called social services. They never seemed to open a case. They would always say everything was fine. Well, once they actually get a call, Darren and Angie get a phone call. They say that the kids have been taken and put in care. Now, Darren's like, okay, give me my kids. Well, he's on Daniel's birth certificate, but he was never actually put on Becky's birth certificate. He never had the money for a DNA test. Before then, he did, I think, get the DNA test, but they never actually physically went and put him on the birth certificate for whatever reason. But this is after he had already grown attached to Becky for like a couple years, and I don't think that DNA would have changed anything. So they make him and Angie jump through all these hoops. They make Angie take a parenting class, and they question why her son doesn't even live with her. He lives with her mom. And she explains all that to them. funny part is they said Angie did so good with this class that they offered to let her teach it because, like I said, she's super mom. Next time, I promise the lighting will be better. I'll have everything worked out. I have like this huge shadow right here. Super weird, but there's nothing really I can do about it. So forgive me. Next video, I promise will be better. Okay, anyway, so, you know, it's a big laugh with the people. Like, Becky's so good that they want her to teach the class if she needs a job, which is hilarious. But everything ends up being fine. They do talk to Nathan. They tell Nathan that Becky and Daniel are going to be living there full time. Well, he's like, cool, Daniel's awesome. Becky, don't know about her. She's really annoying. At this time, Nathan's 3, Daniel's 5, Nathan's 13, Daniel's 5, Becky is 3. Because Nathan and Becky are 10 years apart, Daniel's 2 years older than her. That's literally how I remember the ages when I was researching this. So they kind of brush it off. They're like, he's a 13-year-old boy. Of course he thinks that a 3-year-old little girl is annoying. And like I said, she was a loud kid. She cried and threw fits and threw herself on the ground. And she was 3. Like, 3-year-olds tend to do stuff like that, right? So they don't really think much of it. The kids come home. Everybody's super excited. At first, Daniel and Becky, they share a room. Nathan has his own room when he comes over. Life is great. The kids are pretty well adjusted. They go on family vacations. Becky is a really, really shy kid. Like, if she doesn't know you, she doesn't know you. And she doesn't know if she wants to know you. Like, that's kind of how it was. She was really, really shy. So when it was time for her to start school, Angie took her to school and she had a meltdown. Literally, Angie had to volunteer at the school the first year she was there in order for Becky to even feel comfortable being at school. And because she was painfully shy, she made like one really good friend, and then one of Angie's nieces or cousins. They never really explain who it is to Angie, but they say that it is Becky's cousin because of Angie's. So I don't know if it's Angie's cousin or her niece or whatever, but it is Becky's cousin. So Becky's cousin, she goes to school with, and then she has this one other friend. Which, isn't a big deal. You have 2 friends at school, especially if you're shy. That some people don't even have that. So, but she had fun at school. She was pretty well adjusted, and she did really good. She was a good student. Like, their life kind of just became normal, right? Just average, everyday family. There's a funny story from when Becky was probably 5 or 6. Nathan was talking on the phone to his mom and something happened, and Becky says, "My mom's better than your mom." And Nathan's like, "We have the same mom, idiot. Like, what are you talking about?" And up until that point, Becky had spent so little time with her mom, and she was so young when she was taken from her mom's custody. She really didn't understand. Like, she didn't realize that Angie wasn't her mom. Angela was. So she runs to her room and she's bawling her eyeballs out, and Darren goes to run after her, and Angie's like, "No, don't worry about it. I got it." And they spend the rest of the day cuddled in bed, watching movies, and eventually Becky comes out and she tells everybody so proudly, like, she has a mommy and she has an Angie, and she loves her Angie. And that's like the sweetest, most wholesome little kid thing I can ever think of. And it's just so sweet because she doesn't care that that's not her actual mother. She loves her so wholeheartedly. There are pictures that I found of Becky, and she's just attached to Angie. She's little and she's just hanging from her neck, and it's the sweetest thing you would ever see. And Becky is growing up to be a very, very pretty adolescent girl. She's about to start what they would, I guess, consider secondary school in England, but middle school, junior high, whatever you want to call it. She's getting ready to go there, and this for her is going to be a huge change because her best friend will not be going to school with her. And I'm assuming that her cousin didn't go to school with her either, because it seems like she didn't really have any contact with either of them. Okay, so when she gets to middle school, secondary school, junior high, She is insanely bullied. Like, insanely bullied. And she's a beautiful girl. Like, but they call her fat. They literally, somebody takes a new jacket of hers off her fucking body. And excuse me, but rude. Like, rude. Also, who is this kid? Like, as a mom, who is this kid? Because I'm about to come find you now because you just took my baby's jacket off their body. You're not about to just bully my kid. I need to talk to your mama. Where's your mama? So this hits really hard. So not only is she already shy, she's probably a little socially awkward because she's so shy. She lost her friend. She went to a different school. She's being bullied. And I'll post pictures. I'll put a picture right here. She wasn't fat, like, at all. And even if she was, it's not a reason to bully her. Like, don't be a jerk. But they were literally just making this up about this little girl, and it hit her so hard. So hard. She gives her dad a list of foods that she's going to be eating from now on, and they're like diet pre-made meals. And they're on a, like, Angie's a stay-at-home mom, so they're on a tight budget, but he will do anything just to make his daughter happy, because that is the type of dad Darren is. He would have done anything for Becky, and he would have done anything for any of his kids, and he still would. So he goes and gets her food, and he noticed that she's really not eating it. She's starting to just, like, throw parts of that away. And he's trying to talk to her like, you're not even eating your food. You need to eat something. And she's telling him, like, you're the reason I'm fat. And it's just getting really, really out of hand. And she does ask her dad to teach her how to box, because out in their garage, they have, some gear for boxing. So he agrees, but he tells her she has to eat, because if she doesn't eat, she won't have the energy to box, which makes a lot of sense. Boxers eat a high protein diet because they're athletes and they put in a lot of work. So at first, this is going great, like absolutely amazing. This is going. She's eating, she's boxing, she's building strength, building muscle. Everything's going great. Okay. So after a while, she starts not eating again, and she's getting lightheaded while they're boxing. And Darren's like, nope, this cannot continue. They end up taking her to a doctor. The doctor sends her to, like, a clinic, and they're doing all they can, but she just still will not eat. She just won't. So eventually they come to her house, and they tell her, like, Becky, you're not eating. Like, she's classified for a while at this point. And they tell her, like, Becky, you're not eating. Like, she's at this time, like, 12. She's not eating. She's anorexic. And they tell her if she doesn't eat, like, she has to go live at this clinic. She can't live at home. And that triggers her. She's like, nope, I want to stay home with my dad and Angie. I'm not doing it. They're like, well, you have to eat. Like, we're going to come back and check in a couple weeks. And if you're not gaining any weight, you're going to have to come live at the clinic. Well, that is what does it for her. She starts gaining her weight back. And one of the things her dad says is that she would come ask him, like, Dad, could you make me X, Y, and Z? And he was so excited that she was eating, he would just make it. He didn't care. And this carried on into when she was older. And we'll talk about that later, because it'll be one of his last memories of her. And we will go into detail about that when we get to that part of the story. We still have a couple more years to cover. Okay. So everything seems to be going better. Becky does have to go to what I would call an alternative school. It's a school for kids who are sick, missed school because they were sick. Because she missed so much school, she could not go to her regular secondary school anymore. But she thrives here. She makes friends. She meets her boyfriend. Like, she's having a really, really good life at this point. And because this family cannot catch a damn break, something else happens. One morning, Angie wakes up and she literally can't see. And I don't know about you, if I woke up and my vision was, like, gone, I would be freaking out. So they rush to the hospital, they run tests, They can't figure out what's wrong. Slowly and surely, her eyesight comes back. So while they're happy with everything that's going on with Becky, Becky's helping kids at school. She sees somebody eating alone or confused in the hallway. She literally will go help them. She will have these kids sit with her at lunch. Like, she is amazing. At home, she, like, off and on, the woman she knows is her mom is sick. So it starts with the loss of eyesight, and then it goes to, like, she can't walk one morning. And the symptoms will come and go, and ultimately they figure out that she has MS. And this is part of the excuse of why Becky's life is ended, and it's a bullshit excuse. That's why I know my podcaster listeners can't hear me, but I use the finger quotes because it's plumb bullshit, okay? It is. It's bullshit. That's a lie. That you didn't take nobody's life because, we'll get to that. Anyway, so, I'm gonna say this, but it's not meant to be bad. Daniel is pretty, like, unremarkable in this story. Like, he's just an average kid. He goes to school, he gets good grades. Eventually, when he's about 16, so when Becky's probably about 14, he decides he wants to go live at his mom's house. Like, I think he was tired of sharing a room with his sister. And maybe he was a little younger than that, because he leaves about the time, he's a little younger than 16 because he leaves also because it is really hard on him to watch Becky every day with her sickness. Like, that was really rough on everybody. And it lasts a couple years. But during this time, before this time, Darren takes Nathan under his wings. Like, he helps him get his driver's license. He buys him a moped. Okay. So around this time, Becky had been complaining that Nathan was doing something weird. He was jumping out at her and literally, like, screaming in her face. That's not always something weird. Like, the jumping out part isn't. My husband's hid and jumped out at me before. And my sons have, like, done it to my daughters. Y'all excuse me. It's kind of hot in here. I had to turn off my air because you could hear constant in the background, and that makes for crappy audio. So I'm just dealing with the heat. That's how much I love y'all, because I'm just hot in here for y'all. Anyway, so that's not the weird part, but the grabbing her and screaming fully in her face, that's weird. And I know if that happened in my house, my kids would probably be in a brawl. But that's neither here nor there. And so Darren didn't really pay attention. He thought it was just brother and sister bickering, the same crap that we all see go on. But no, when he saw it, he said that was weird. But he said the way Becky looked, like the fear, that's when he was like, no, this has to stop. Like, it needs to stop now. Everything's starting to go back to normal until Nathan's 21. And he brings a girl over. Now, this girl's name is Shauna Hoare. That's her name. Shauna Hoare. It's spelled Hoare. So it's not spelled anyway. That doesn't really matter. It's her name. That's how you say it. I looked it up multiple places, and that's how you say her name, right? So, forgive me. I need some caffeine. Listen. Anybody who's listening to this podcast follows me on Instagram knows that this whole situation is powered by coffee. If it wasn't for coffee, I would not be doing this. I have a house full of kids and a husband and building other content, but y'all not here for that. Shauna is brought to Darren and Angie's house. While I'm saying this, I do want to make a correction. I don't know why I called Becky's mom Angela. Her name is Tanya. Like, I don't even know where I got that from. It's not working, apparently. Her name is Tanya. 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 But if for some reason her name is Tanya, okay? Don't click off or turn it off because I said her name wrong, okay? I admit it. Her name is Tanya. So Nathan comes to Angie and Darren's house. And he brings what Darren believes is like a 14 or 15-year-old girl. Talking about this, his girlfriend. And Darren's like, nah, don't bring her over here. She's obviously not old enough to be your girlfriend. He's like, no, she's legal. He's like, no, she's not. Bring me her birth certificate, then she can come over. So Darren tells Angie, and she's like, oh, we don't want him not to come over and visit us and la la la, whatever. So about a year later, they show up. Nathan and Miss Hoare show up with her birth certificate that says she's 16, because in England, the age of consent is 16. Also, kids seem to graduate before they're 18 there, too. I noticed that by researching this case. Maybe it depends on, like, where you are in England. But here, they were not 18 when they stopped going to school. Like, they were... Because I think Becky was, like, in her last year of school and she was only 16. But in Indiana, where I am, the age of consent is 16. But it's only up to, like, you can only consent to a person of a certain age. Like, once they get over that age, it's no longer consent. That's out the window. He brings her birth certificate and says she's 16, but she recently turned 16, which means that she was actually 15 and underage. Now, Darren still doesn't like this situation, but what can he do? She's legal now, and so he tries to give him a chance. Well, he thinks that Shauna is actually really nice. Like, she's respectful. He's like, well, maybe he just had a bad read on her. You know, sometimes we get feelings and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not right. And so he thought he got a bad read on her, and he sees how she's interacting with Angie and how respectful she is. He doesn't like the fact that her and Nathan like sit on the couch and cuddle and whisper back and forth. But I feel like for her at least, that's like teenager shit. Like, that's what teenagers do. You cuddle and you whisper sweet nothings in your boyfriend or girlfriend's ears. It is what it is, right? I just also want to say Shauna goes by the last name Phillips, but that's not legally her last name. I think like maybe it's her mom and dad, or like her mom's married. I'm not sure. They don't really explain why she has two different last names. She just regularly went by Phillips. And then when the trial and everything happened, like in the tabloids, it's Shauna Hoare. In the book, I'm pretty sure it's Shauna Phillips. She went by Shauna Hoare on Facebook. It's a whole mess, child. It doesn't matter. Her name's Shauna, and she's a bad person. Okay? Shauna is a bad person. I don't care if it's Shauna Phillips, Shauna Hoare, the one who committed the crime with the brother. She's a horrible person. And we're going to see later. Everything might have been fine with her and being respectful to parents. But what Darren ended up peeping was how disrespectful she was to Becky. She was mad disrespectful to Becky. And Becky just wanted to be her friend. Literally, when all of this happens, her dad's going to witness a couple situations. He's finally going to intervene. And when he asks Becky about it, she's going to say she just wants her to like her. She just wants to be her friend. And that breaks my heart, because she was so rude to this girl, and she ultimately helped in this girl's demise, and she just wanted to be her friend, just wanted her to like her, and it makes me even more angry for this little girl. Becky got into fashion. After she started putting her weight back on, makeup, hair, clothes, she was on it. Like her friends say, she always had her makeup done, she always had her hair done, and all the pictures that I'll post, she's so pretty. So pretty. Just, anyway. So, like, she will order stuff from online, and the place is called, I don't remember. I thought I had it written down. Anyway, she used to order stuff from this online shop. And you know how online shops are. You can order your size, and when it comes, that does not mean it's your size, okay? Like, that's just how it happened. I ordered my wedding dress online, and it was not my size. Anyway, stuff does not always fit you properly the way, you think it will. But Becky, if she got it, she wouldn't return it. Most of us, we get something that doesn't fit us, we're going to wrap it back up, slap that shipping label on it, send it right back to the manufacturer. We're either going to get a bigger size, exchange for a different item, or they're going to give us our money back. Well, Becky didn't do that. But what she would do is she would offer it to Shauna. Oh, I didn't like the way this fit, or it doesn't fit me, or I don't like it. Would you like to have it? And Shauna would take the stuff, but she would always do it in a snooty way, like she was doing Becky a favor instead of Becky was doing her a favor by even giving her an item. Well, I guess I'll take it for you. What do you mean for me? This is for you. You are getting something out the deal. What am I getting out the deal? Like, really? Darren caught her snatching stuff from Becky a couple times. Things that Becky was offering to give her, she would snatch them from her, be mad disrespectful with her. And Darren finally was like, no. Like, it was a leather jacket, and she got really snobby with Becky about the jacket. Darren took the jacket, gave it to Becky, and was like, no, she's not getting this jacket. He was like, Darren, you're not going to treat my daughter like that. I mean, Darren was like, Shauna, you're not going to treat my daughter like that. And he asked Becky, like, why are you still giving her stuff? I've heard her talk to you like this more than once. Like, why are you doing this? And this is when she tells him that she just wants Shauna to like her. She just wants her to be her friend. And that makes me angrier and angrier every single time I hear about it. We talked about how Angie was sick. So in 2014, Darren decides he wants to get married to Angie. So he proposes, and they need to put a wedding together like a couple months, I say, like quick. So they have Becky do it, because what I didn't mention is Becky wants to be a designer. So she's into fashion, she's into design, like interior design. Baby girl had a future. So she plans their entire wedding, picks the colors, the dresses, everything. And they just let her do it because they said they have faith in her. And I will post some of those pictures because she did a really good job. Everything looks so pretty. They have family pictures and everybody looks so great. And an amazing thing is Angie was able to get up from her chair and like walk down the aisle. I mean, it was an amazing thing that happened. I'm sure it took a lot of work for her to be able to stand there and take her vows, but she was able to do it, and it was an amazing day. And there's a picture of her standing for their family photo. By the time 2014 it came, Shauna and Nathan have had a baby. Becky is in a great relationship with her boyfriend Luke. She has these friends at school. She's just she out here living her best life. Shauna is now a caregiver for Angie because Angie is getting more and more and more, what's the word I want to use? Angie is not, her disability is taking over more and more. That's the best way to put that. And she's needing more help. Darren works a lot to make sure everything is taken care of at home. Obviously, Becky has to go to school, and they don't want her whole life to be taking care of Angie. She does chip in because she loves Angie and she wants to help take care of her, but they don't want to put that complete burden on her. So they hire Shauna. And I keep using air quotes. I know you can't see me use air quotes if you're watching, you're listening to the podcast. I know you can't hear me. See me do air quotes, but I am, because they hired Shauna, but she really did diddly squat. Like, she really didn't do nothing. She might wash some dishes or maybe cook a meal once in a while. The job was supposed to be because she could bring the baby with her. Also, Nathan would follow her to work, so he had stopped working. So this hard-working boy that, like, he was a hard-working boy, turned into a lazy man. He said he was injured, but Darren thought that was just a crock just so he could stay up under Shauna, because he stayed up under Shauna. Like, he didn't want her out of his sight. He stayed by her side. So they would mainly be over there so they could eat their food, honestly. Becky's a teenager. At this point, it's 2015. Normal life stuff is happening. Becky's 15. She'll be 16 in a few months. It's February of 2015. We're getting really close to when some shitty shit happens. So normal stuff is going on in the house. Becky's still boxing as far as I know. They're having some little arguments here and there. You know how things go. Darren says that generally when him and Becky get into arguments, Angie would laugh. One, because she said that they were so much like each other, they didn't realize it, and that's why they went back and forth. He said, and also, they would end up erupting in laughter, like just cracking up laughing by the end of their fights. Like, that's just what it was. That's how they were. He said him and Becky were a lot alike, which is why they got into their little spats. But it was nothing crazy. It was just normal teenager parent stuff. Becky is February. Becky is going, she was like at her friend's house. They're out for break for some reason. Like, I don't remember what break it is for them, but they're on break. So Becky's like, she went to her friend's house. They were gaming. I think they went to a party. She comes home. She's out with her friends, and she comes home on like the 17th, I believe. It's like the 16th going into the 17th is when her dad sees her. She's in what he called her pajama, like her onesie, which I'm assuming is like, you know, just a onesie, a sleeping onesie. And she's in a jumper, which a jumper is a sweater. It's Angie's sweater. So she wears her onesie and then she wears Angie's sweater, and that's what she sleeps in. But remember, we were talking about her dad making her food. So she asked him for pizza. He made her some pizza, brought it up to her. And she's eating her pizza and she's watching Jackass because he said Jackass was her favorite TV show. Now, this is 2015. 6 years ago, Jackass was a little more, I don't know, on TV. I think it was 2015. It was winding down here in America. He goes and gets in bed because he has to work. Well, early in the morning, he ends up getting woken up because y'all know how that is. You fall asleep, something wakes you up. Well, he hears her TV blaring. So he gets out of bed, goes to turn her TV off, and he said he whispers to herself, like, how do you sleep with this loudness? Which I wonder about my kids sometimes too, like, this is so loud, how are you even sleeping right now? And like, he turns her TV off, he looks at her, he goes back to bed. He gets up in the morning, he leaves. Well, that day she leaves. That's when she goes to her friend's house. They go to, I think, like a party. They're gaming at his house, and it is what it is. So she comes back the next morning, and when she comes home, Angie sees her because Angie has to open the door because her key was messed up. Angie said she seemed a little annoyed because her key wasn't working. She was like, I have to have dad look at my key because it's still not working. And I mean, I would be annoyed too if I was trying to get in the house and my key wasn't working, right? Angie said Becky goes to her room and Angie has to go to a doctor's appointment at like 11:30. So Angie's mom comes and gets her and drives her to the appointment because obviously Angie is in no state of to drive. She's pretty much wheelchair bound for the most part. She comes back about 12:30, Angie does, and Shauna and Nathan are there. They say that Becky left. This is what Shauna said. Shauna said she was outside. She heard music go off. She heard like running down the stairs. She hears the door slam and she assumes that that's Becky leaving, which I guess is a natural assumption. Like if I heard that, I would assume somebody is leaving, and if Becky was the only person in the house, then obviously I would naturally assume it was that person leaving. Now, Becky was supposed to meet her boyfriend that day. He had a dentist appointment. After his dentist appointment, he was supposed to meet her. And they were actually corresponding back and forth. He said at 3:46 in the morning, he had got a message from her that said, I love you so much. And so, like, after they talk, he assumes that she fell asleep because she was up late. And I'm going to actually read the message exchange. It's just a short one that they had. So he says, I'm back, babes, XXXXX, and kiss the emoji. She's like, goody, same XXXXX. That must be their thing. Heart, kissy emoji. And she's like jamming me. And so she was listening to music like in her room, which Shauna did say that she heard music, you know, at one point in the bedroom. Then it says, sorry for long replies. I'm having to pace it. That was at 11:21. So I'm assuming he was taking so long to reply because he was at the dentist. And then it says, I'm done at the dentist. That's 12:09. So like 40 minutes later. And then like 40 minutes after that, he's like, oi. 40 minutes after that, he's like, Becky, oi. Well, it was almost an hour. And then like a little over an hour, he's like, hello. And so at about 5 o'clock, he comes to her house. So he's like, we're supposed to meet hours ago. She's not responding. Maybe her phone died. He does say like her phone dies. Little did he know she was also dead. And all that breaks my heart for him to say that. I can't imagine, even as a teenager, like, I can't imagine it. And I think he was a little bit older than her when everything happened. He was like 17 or 18, I think. No, I think he was like 17 because she was like 15. I think he was 17. So, trying to figure out what happened to Becky, you know what I mean? So, he goes to her house about 5 p.m., knocks on her door. Angie and Shauna are together when one of them opens the door, but he talks to both of them. Shauna says what she said earlier, that she heard music go off, heard Becky run down the stairs, slam the door. She said she's going to go upstairs to check the room. So she goes upstairs, says, Becky's not here. We already know Becky's not there, right? And Angie's like, when she comes home, I'll tell her that you came looking for her. Becky doesn't come home that night, but it's not really a big deal to them. They think that, she must have stayed the night out at somebody else's house, at a friend's house again. For me, if my kid didn't come home, I'm calling the cops, period. Because you don't know what could have happened. You don't know. And I guess maybe it's because I do so much of this that I know that first 24 hours is, if your child is kidnapped, the first 24 hours. For them, it didn't matter because Becky was already gone by the time Angie even got home. But we'll get into that. Okay, so the next day, February 19th, Becky's friends, I know for sure Courtney and Charlie and her boyfriend Luke. She had another friend and I can't find her name. I thought I put her name in my notes. I'm sorry to Becky's other friend that I don't have that information. But her 3 friends and her boyfriend are at the house. And Angie calls Darren at work because Becky's missing. They thought she was one of them, and she's not. So they call Becky's dad, and he's at work. He's like, I have to go. My daughter's missing. So he gets home. They call the police, and the police are like, oh, she's probably with a friend. He's like, no, all of her friends are here. Like, they're in my house because they can't find her either. They come out, they take a report, but they kind of are like, oh, she must have went with a friend you don't know about, or she's off with a boy or whatever. Her boyfriend is also there. Like, who is she with? And they explain to them that she's super shy. She won't even take a bus. Guys, that's how shy she is. She can't even ask a bus driver for a ticket. Like, poor kid. But where is she gonna be? Like, she's not gonna go hitchhike. She's too shy to talk to people. So if she's not with one of them or with her family, where the hell is she? He obviously calls her mom. He calls her brother. And nobody can find her, right? Since the cops really aren't taking it serious, Darren wants to post online. And Nathan sits down and he helps him post online. He gets the information. He asks him, is this good? Whatever. So that he's helping him post online. Becky's family ends up showing up. They go hand out flyers, like on corners, like on street corners. They hand out posters. They go post posters. They are full-fledged looking for Becky because they know that this is weird. Like, this is not like her. If she wasn't with her friends, she'd be at home. That's just who she is, right? Finally, multiple days after Becky goes missing, the police have a press conference. And then they send Angie and Darren to a hotel so they can process the house. Which I guess, is unusual for them to process the house. But they were supposed to be in a hotel for a couple of days, and this turns into months. It turns into months because they find stuff. And initially, they don't tell Darren and Angie that they find things. Okay? They keep, that's hush hush. They find things. They are starting to look into some leads because they talk to neighbors. They look at CCTV. Nobody saw her leave. Not a soul saw her leave. This is a small city. Somebody would have seen her, right? Bristol's not that big. They are looking internally like, did something happen to her at her house? Well, they end up finding blood. And blood in like 3 different areas, like shoulder height, waist height, knee height. They find blood. And then they find fingerprints. And the fingerprints are in the blood. And they find it on Becky's door frame. They're able to tell that the fingerprint is Nathan. So they bring Nathan and Shauna in for questioning. And at this point, Darren and y'all need to do your job. Y'all need to stop focusing on us. Why are y'all harassing our family? Average things. They didn't realize that it was Nathan's fingerprint in Becky's blood. And that's what they were trying to see. Like, is that Becky's blood or is it Nathan's blood? And it was Becky's blood with Nathan's fingerprint in it. So they knew that he had to have put it there at the time that Becky was attacked. Because of the way it was, it's not like, oh, it was a nosebleed or anything. Like I said, it was shoulder, waist, and knee height. That doesn't just get there from a nosebleed, not at the same time. It's weird. So they go pick them up. They end up getting a warrant for their house. And their house is disgusting, like hoarders level disgusting. It has a path you can walk through. And then the bathroom, not the whole bathroom, just the tub, it's spick and span. Like, spick and span. I'm going to post a picture of that too, because I found a picture of that and I was like, that's dark contrast, right? So they start asking more and more questions, and Nathan tells them where to find Becky's body, just like it's not that big of a deal. He starts telling what happened, but he leaves Shauna out. He's like, Shauna didn't know. She had no idea what was going on. I waited till she went outside to smoke a cigarette to even interact with Becky, because we're going to explain what he says he was trying to do, and then how that ended, and what the prosecution says that he was trying to do, because those are two very, very different things, right? I do want to take this moment to say that Shauna knew what was going on. She knew. She had to have known. Her DNA is on objects connected to the murder of Becky. So how did you not know if your DNA are on objects that were found the same place Becky's body were found? Come on now. You knew exactly what was going on. And when they questioned Shauna, she had the audacity to say stuff like Becky was disrespectful to Angie and her anorexia was to get attention. Sounds like the same exact thing that Nathan had said about Becky right? It's like she's regurgitating information, can't think for herself. She also said that Becky thought she would be better off in foster care, which is probably the dumbest thing I ever heard. One, that's a dumb thing to say. Two, why would Becky say that? She was in foster care before, and even when those people from the clinic wanted her to come stay at the clinic, she was adamant she did not want to do that. She did not want to go to no damn clinic. She wanted to stay with her parents. So that doesn't even make sense at all. So one of the things that they kind of say that shows Shauna's guiltiness is that she watched this video. It is a parody for Do You Want to Build a Snowman called Do You Want to Hide a Body? Now, I don't think this alone makes her look guilty, because I've literally heard this song and seen this video, and I have not hidden anybody's or been involved in any murderous plots at all. It's just something that popped up for me on, I don't know where, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, goodness, I don't know at this point. I don't know. Now, Nathan and Shauna are also captured on CC television buying like tasers and batteries for tasers and cleaning items and, stuff you might use in a murder case. After they're arrested, they're charged, and I'm going to read off the list of charges. Murder, conspiracy to kidnap, perverting the course of justice, preventing a lawful burial, and possessing a stun gun, which is illegal. So after they find Becky's body, they bring the family, obviously, to identify her. Darren and Angie go in. He pushes Angie. He's looking at his daughter, and I can't imagine how horrible that was. And he notices that the sheet is down a little, and there are bandages around her neck and around her wrist. Her hand is in a fist, and there's bandages wrapped around her wrist because her body was dismembered. Her hand is in a fist because she was fighting for her life. Because, as we know, she boxed. She knew how to box. So I'm sure, gave Nathan a hell of a fight. And I hope she kicked his fucking ass. The body was found in the shed of a man named Carl Demetrius and Jaden Parsons. They were charged with assisting an offender for helping hide the pieces of Becky's body. Now, police don't think that they necessarily knew that it was a body they were hiding, but they did admit that they thought it was probably theft or robbery or something. They knew they were hiding something illegal, but they still allowed him to do it because he offered Carl $10,000. Now, they did try to arrest James Ireland and Donovan Demetrius, who was Carl's brother, but it came to find out, like, they didn't have anything to do with it. They didn't know nothing about it. They just happened to be there. So they didn't get charged with anything. So I'm going to post some pictures of, like, the bags they found her in. Like, it was a book bag, a suitcase, and then the pieces of her body were wrapped in plastic wrap. And it's just so horrible. The cop said that he found a package that was like the size of a football. And he said it was hard and squishy, and he unwrapped it, and it was her fist. I can't imagine how horrible that was, even for that officer, like, to find that, to unwrap that and see that's what that was. they find text messages between Shauna and Nathan that say, he says that she should find him 2 pretty girls and bring them home. And she tells him that she saw this pretty school-age girl. He said that she should have grabbed her for him. And he's like, don't give me shoulda, get her bitch, or whatever. Get her B-word. So there's clearly, they have an attraction to teenage girls. We already know that Nathan does because Shauna and then the 12 girls that he brought home. And they were joking about kidnapping some girls. Shauna was estranged from her parents. Now they show up at her mom Lisa's house, and her mom, I think they said she hadn't seen her mom in like 5 years, and she shows up there and her mom jokes like, oh, I know why you're here. You had something to do with that girl missing. You took her. And Shauna goes, no, but it gets dismissed. And now the family is going to find out some really, really horrific details during this case. And I already talked about the dismemberment of Becky's body, but she was also stabbed 15 times. She was strangled, and she had bruises all on her face and 14 cuts, from being beat up. So not only did he suffocate her, he stabbed her and he beat her. He said he stabbed her to drain her blood after he got home, because apparently he saw that on some TV show. He also tried to dissolve her body, which didn't work, which is how he ended up dismembering her and putting her in his friend's garden shed. But these are the text messages I was talking about, and I'm going to actually read them verbatim. Nathan says, fuck you, bring me back 2 pretty schoolgirls then. Shauna replies, LOL, yeah, I'll just kidnap them from school. She says, just went to Cost Cutter and saw a very pretty petite girl, almost knocked her out to bring her home. LOL, XOXO. Don't almost me effing do it, B. And she says, LMFAO. Yeah, I'll just go back in time when I saw her and time travel with her to our attic. LOL. He also had her send messages to a teenage girl on Facebook. He was trying to get the girl to come over. It was a weird situation. The girl was a teenager. Another thing the family finds out is that Becky was in his trunk. He put Becky in the trunk. He came to their house with a big duffel bag, big enough to fit Becky in, a stun gun, handcuffs, and a mask. He said he was going to kidnap Becky to teach her a lesson for being disrespectful to his mom. Remember, I said that he said the same thing that Shauna said about her being disrespectful. He said that she left stuff around the house and his mom could trip and fall and hurt herself. But Darren said that he did the same thing. So I don't know why he would be mad about that. Maybe you should clean up your own mess. You don't even live here anymore. I'm going to give you the account that Nathan gives. And I'm going to read a lot of it because I want to make sure I get this information right. He knocks on Becky's door and she says, what or hello? He says, I said, can I see you a minute? Are similar words. Now he has a mask on and he's talking to Becky. And he said he had a mask on because he didn't want her to know who he was. But if he just talked to her through the door, wouldn't she know exactly who he was? That doesn't make any sense to me. He says Becky opened the door. He was wearing a mask. He can't be sure what order things happened in. I'm using air quotes again. He had the items to subdue her. It was a short struggle. At first he says she gets on her knees, he puts the handcuffs on, but I guess there's some kind of struggle. His mask comes off and he starts to panic and he strangles her while she's partially in the bag. And so she's fighting him and he's trying to strangle her. He punches her in the head. He admits to punching her in the head. He takes her paws, realizes that she doesn't have a pulse, zips up the bag, takes her cover, her laptop, and her phone to make it look like she just left. He claims he was just trying to kidnap her. That sounds like a really shitty kidnap plot. He also said he didn't have anywhere he was going to take her. He hadn't thought that far. I don't believe any of this. I don't believe that he was going to I believe he knew exactly what he wanted to do. And if he wanted to kidnap her, he wanted to take her back to his house, and he didn't think that she was going to fight. So maybe he did want to kidnap her. Maybe him and Shauna wanted to take her back to his house so they can do whatever creepy shit they had in their head. But I think his ultimate goal ultimately would have always been to kill her. She was never going to make it back home. Period. That's just my belief. So, my opinion, we're all entitled to them. He said that this all happened while Shauna was out in the garden smoking. He said he's the one that slammed the door to make it sound like Becky was leaving. He put the bag in the trunk. So when Nathan and Angie walked in that house, they walked past her body in his trunk. I know Darren said that bothered him, knowing that his daughter was in that trunk when he walked right past it. Nathan says that he took Becky's body in the house when Shauna was asleep or when she was doing anything. And the reason he got her not to come in is because he told her the toilet was clogged. And which is something that I guess happened frequently, like their toilet would get messed up. But you don't go in the bathroom for nothing else but the toilet. Like, you don't shower. They never said if they had a second bathroom or not. So I'm not sure, but you never go in the bathroom for anything else. That's weird to me. Brush your teeth, take a shower, or nothing. But if house is as dirty as the police say it was, then she couldn't have showered or brushed her teeth or anything in there because she couldn't get to it, right? After hearing all of the evidence, they end up finding Shauna and Matthew guilty. They end up finding Shauna and Nathan guilty. Now, Nathan is sentenced to 33 years, and Shauna's sentenced to 17 because they can't prove she actually acted in the murder. She acted in cleanup and that she was connected, but they can't actually place her at the murder scene. Becky's boyfriend posted this on Facebook. 33 and 17 years. Obviously, no amount of years will ever be enough for what those things have done, but it's a start. Now, all we have to do is be patient, wait out those 33 years till he gets out, and we can all take great pleasure in serving some real justice to him. Let's not forget what the main goal of this, that was to get justice for Becky, and we have after many hard months, but it has been done. You can now rest in peace, Becky, knowing we have done it for you. You'll always be with us. Darren said that he allowed Luke and Becky's other friends to take one item of hers. Luke was a pallbearer, and so was Charlie at her funeral. And her funeral was, what I'm going to say, a gift from the community. The community donated money to help pay for her funeral. She was brought in a horse-drawn carriage. People wore shirts for her. People stood out in the streets as the carriage brought her body by. She had a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. The sad thing is, it was right around the time of her birthday. They did celebrate her birthday. Her dad said they were having a surprise 16th birthday party for her. They already ordered the cake and reserved the place and had joy that night. They talked about great memories with Becky, and they laughed and they danced and they had a good time. I know that was really hard for him. Darren said that it took a while for him to even be able to go back to work, and it was just a really, really rough time, but they made it through. And the community planted trees for some of Becky and a couple other teenagers who had lost their lives in the community. So there is a tree there in Becky's honor. This case is really horrible. Like, her stepbrother, who she loved with her whole heart, who I didn't mention earlier, Becky didn't talk until she was like 3, and Nathan was her first word. That's how much she loved him. That was her first word. And he committed the ultimate betrayal. Whether it was jealousy or sexually motivated or both. He took the life of a girl who did nothing but love him and look at him as her big brother. Thank you guys so much. That is the case of Becky Watts. Once again, thank you for being with us. Well, thank you for being with me, listening, watching, whatever you are doing. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, join our Facebook page, like our Facebook page, join our Facebook group. I haven't been as active lately as I want to be, but the more people who join our Facebook group, the more we can interact with each other, and I can get some moderators that actually will post and make the group a little more interactive. So I'm looking forward to that. And don't forget to check out our sponsor, Wavelength. My link will be in the description box. So until next time, guys, be safe and please don't be murdered.